as well.
It would be a very bad day for the Venezuelan regime if they were to attack Guyana or attack ExxonMobil or anything like it. It would be a very bad day, a very bad week for them. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again, I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. Good afternoon.
Marcel Thomas from the Stellar News. You just spoke of consequences for aggressive actions and that the U.S. is Guyana's partner. Given Venezuela's unprovoked aggression towards Guyana, I want to know if your country would stand by Guyana militarily if Venezuela were to attack this country, and what would be the U.S.'s response should Venezuela attack U.S. oil major ExxonMobil, which is operating in Guyana as well?
It would be a very bad day for the Venezuelan regime if they were to attack Guyana or attack ExxonMobil or anything like it. It would be a very bad day, a very bad week for them, and it would not end well for them. I'm not going to get into details of what we'll do. We're not big on those kinds of threats. I think everybody understands, and I want it to be clear. We've made this clear repeatedly. I think the U.S. Navy today is making it clear and demonstrating our ability to. We have a big Navy, and it can get almost anywhere. It can get anywhere in the world. We have commitments that exist today with Guyana. We want to build on those, expand on those, and we'll leave it for the appropriate time. But suffice it to say that if that regime were to do something such as that, it would be a very bad move. It would be a big mistake for them.
We now invite from our visiting media, please remember to identify yourself and the media host you represent.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Secretary. Hello, Mr. President. Thank you for taking questions from us. We appreciate it. Rumeysa Ozturk from Reuters. Mr. Secretary, a Turkish student in Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah.
And what was your State Department's role in that process?
Oh, we revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again, I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country. Sure. Just tell me your follow-up, and I'll tell it. And then, depending on your question, I'll answer it or not. How's that? No. She had. Can I get her follow-up real quick?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Could you confirm? There's no reporting that 300 visas. The Department has revoked 300
Maybe more. It might be more than 300 at this point. We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
You're saying it could be more than 300?
Sure, I hope. At some point, I hope we run out because we've gotten rid of all of them. But we're looking every day for these lunatics that are tearing things up. And by the way, we want to get rid of gang members too. So Venezuela sent us a bunch of gang members. I'm sure you've heard of Tren de Aragua, Mr. President. Terrible gang, vicious gang. They flooded in there. Yesterday, just so everybody knows, yesterday, one of these gang members who was involved in New York City in attacking a police officer was deported back to Venezuela because they're now taking flights again, because of some strong measures we've taken. And this guy lands. This guy's a guy that attacked a police officer in New York City and laughed about it in court with a smirk on his face. When he gets off the plane in Venezuela, he's welcomed by this character named Diosdado Cabello. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. And he welcomes in hugging the guy. So does anybody have any doubt that these people are pushing these people into the United States to destabilize us in the region? So yeah, we're looking for people like this and we want to get them out of the United States. Absolutely.
Thank you. We'll now feed a question from Guyana.
Thank you. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom. President Ali, you've already spoken about how President Trump's tariff plans for Chinese ships could affect regional trade. I just wanted to know if in your trade talks today, if that issue was specifically discussed.
Yes.
For Secretary of State Rubio.
Yeah, I can tell you. Oh, you were asking him. I'm sorry.
It's for both of you. What assurances can you give Guyana and this hemisphere in terms of stemming indirect consequences?
Yes, well, look, the goal the president has in doing so is we need to have an ability to build ships in this world that don't just come from China. Okay, I think it's just dangerous to have one country in the world building all the ships. I assure you that, and we don't want a war, but I mean, they're not going to build ships for us if we get in trouble, right? So we need to have alternatives to Chinese shipping. We're trying to create a market and a demand for alternatives to Chinese shipping construction. And I'm the first one to admit that the United States made a terrible mistake when we deindustrialized and we allowed all these industries to leave our country and go to other places. Now we're paying the consequences, but we have to fix it. So I do believe, I can't speak, the trade portfolio does not belong to the Department of State, but I do believe that we will take this back because we've heard this not just here, Mr. President, we've heard it throughout our visits here in the Caribbean, and we're going to take it back and explain to those who are in charge of trade policy that there are some implications to applying it to certain nations who are partners and who are seeking to develop their economies in ways that I think serve the national interest of the United States, not to mention the national interest of our partner nations, and see what can happen. So I can't make a commitment to those exemptions because that's not something we handle at the Department of State. What I can commit to is that I will most certainly raise this issue as a recurring issue in multiple places, that it would have a real detrimental effect on economic development. Maybe in 10 years it won't be an issue because there's been some diversification, maybe in 5. But right now it would be problematic. That message I'll take back to Washington and to my colleagues that are handling the trade portfolio, and we'll see how the president decides to proceed. But rest assured, we will take that message back.
Yeah, just to echo the sentiments that yes, we did discuss it, and the region would have raised it also. But the Secretary Rubio is, as he said, to take this back and to see whether there can be any special initiative for the region, given our specific circumstances. But let me say also that we have a responsibility to our friends. The U.S. is a great friend of ours. The U.S. will have made it very clear that they're ready to stand by us in our development, in our economic expansion, in our security, and in our defense. And I would say very boldly that such friends must have some different and preferential treatment. Because a friend who will defend me when I need a friend to defend me must be a friend that enjoys some special place in our hearts and in our country, and that will be the case. Thank you.
And just quickly, illegal migration was also listed as a topic of discussion. Could you say what are the expectations from Guyana in this regard, and any discussions on third country deportations?
Well, we want to work with you on that. I think that's a problem for you as well. I mean, obviously, because of a combination of your growing economy, labor needs, and your geography, you've been a place where a lot of people have come in. And I think you want it to be the right people, right? So I think if we have information that someone has entered your country who has bad intentions, we want to be able to share that with your government, because you don't want that. You don't want those, if we have information on a Tren de Aragua gang member from Venezuela, We want to make sure that we have collaboration and we're sharing that information. If we have information that some narco trafficker is taking up shop here and has decided to try to turn this into a base of operation, which can lead to violence and warfare here, gang warfare, we want to be able to share that with you. We want to prevent these problems from happening. So from the perspective of Guyana, which is not a source country of migration to the United States per se, illegal migration, but it is a country that receives, unfortunately, you're getting a lot of people. And not everybody that comes here, I mean, most people are probably here to work hard and so forth, but not everyone. So if we have information that someone is in your country that we know is a bad person, we want to be able to share it with you. We want to be able to share it with you very quickly. So that sort of information sharing has to be a cornerstone of this security agreement that we signed today and want to continue to expand upon.
We will now feed our final question from our visiting media.
Hello.
Thank you so
Hi.
much. Vera with the Vera Bergen-Gruen with the Wall Street Journal.
They're very tough, this Wall Street. Be careful. All right. No.
Secretary Rubio, when you and President Bukele, you mentioned Nicaragua several times, when you and President Bukele negotiated the deal to transfer the U.S. deportees to his prison in Segovia, did you discuss any provisions to ensure that individuals mistakenly identified as gang members would have access to legal recourse, and that they can secure their release if they are wronged?
Yeah, we have, that list was carefully vetted, provided to us by Homeland Security. We have confidence in it. What we negotiated is the reality that they in El Salvador comply with all the national... Marines at Guantanamo said these are some of the roughest people we've ever interacted with. They were worse than the Al-Qaeda guys that were in their jails. Think about that. So that's who we're getting rid of, and we want to get rid of more of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, this brings the end to our media conference, and I would like to invite His Excellency and Secretary Rubio for a photo op right on the stage.
Thank you.